Isaiah 47 verses 1 to 13. Through the Bible with J. Vernon McGee. Theme: the decline and fall of Babylon. This is the third time in this book, chapters 13 to 14, 21, that we have considered the prediction of the doom of Babylon. There was also a suggestion of the fall of Babylon in chapter 46, which opened with God's judgment upon the idols. The time given to this subject is remarkable in view of the fact that Babylon at this time was a very small and insignificant kingdom. It was almost a century before it would become a world power. It had been in existence since the days of the Tower of Babel and had influenced the world religiously. Babylon was the fountainhead and the mother of all idolatry. Again, I recommend for your study Alexander Hislop's book, The Two Babylons. All through the Old Testament books of prophecy, a great deal is said about drunkenness and idolatry. These are the two things that will bring the downfall of any nation. There is a spiritual meaning for us of the present who have nothing to do with Babylon of the past or of the future. The Babylon of the past lies under the rubble and ruins of judgment. Its glory is diminished by the accumulated dust of the centuries. We can see this Babylonian tendency today in the political realm as represented in the United Nations. Babel is the place where all the political power of the world comes together, which will finally be under the willful king, the Antichrist. We see the commercial combine coming to pass in the breaking down of economic barriers among the nations of Europe. We see the religious combine in both Romanism and the World Council of Churches. We will see all of this prefigured in ancient Babylon. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Isaiah 47 verse 1. Come down is the command of God to Babylon, the same as a dog is called to obedience. It is like saying, down Rover, down Fido. That is the way God is going to talk to the great world power Babylon when the time comes for it to be brought low. God will say, down Fido, down Babylon. That is the way the Lord Jesus dealt with the storm on the little sea of Galilee. When the Lord spoke to the waves and the wind, he literally said, be muzzled, like you would muzzle a dog. The same thought is here in Isaiah. Babylon is called a virgin because she had not yet been captured by an enemy. Babylon was just now coming to power, although it had a very ancient history. Going back to Nimrod, see Genesis 10, and to Babel where the Tower of Babel, see Genesis 11, was located. All the ziggurats in that valley were patterned after the Tower of Babel. He predicts the tremendous humiliation of Babylon. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Isaiah 47 verse 2. This depicts the indescribable humiliation to which Babylon was finally subjected. She had mistreated the people of Israel, and the day came when she was brought low. Nudity is becoming rather popular today. Men play with the subject like a child playing with a new toy, but it degrades humanity. It was no accident that God clothed mankind. A person who wants to go without clothes has a hang-up, a real hang-up. For Babylon, nudity was part of her humiliation. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Isaiah 47 verse 3. Here we see that God delivered Israel into the hands of Babylon. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Isaiah 47 verse 6. God is making it clear to them that the reason Babylon was able to take his people was because he permitted it and not because Babylon was so superior. They had a great sense of power, and they gave themselves credit for overthrowing Israel. They were wrong. God delivered his people into the hands of Babylon because they had sinned against him. He was judging his own people. This is the message of the little prophecy of Habakkuk. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart. Neither didst remember the latter end of it. Isaiah 47 verse 7. God's judgment of his people deceived Babylon. They thought it was by their might and power that they had taken God's people. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Isaiah 47 verse 8. Babylon was arrogant, lifted up, and careless, not believing that a frightful fall was coming. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, looked over the beautiful and glorious city of Babylon and said, "This is great Babylon that I have built," giving no credit to God. God sent him out to the field like an ox to eat grass, having a form of amnesia. Probably the psychiatrist would call it hysteria today. For a long time he did not know who he was, and he lived like an animal. It was God's judgment upon him. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Isaiah 47 verse 10. There is always a grave danger of a nation or a man being lifted up by pride and feeling that he is able to make it on his own. We are living in a country today where men can become rich, not by doing some great service or by making a contribution to mankind, but by being in an industry that brings men down, degrades them instead of building them up. Think of the millions of dollars that are being made through entertainment and the multitudes who are getting rich through the sale of liquor. We are in many questionable businesses as a nation, and our methods of business are not always honorable. We attempt to cover up these things, but God sees, and he will judge as he judged Babylon. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Isaiah 47 verse 12. God satirically urges Babylon to turn to the witchcraft in which she has trusted and which has gotten her into trouble. In substance, God asks, You thought it was so great. Why don't you trust it to get you out of trouble? Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Isaiah 47 verse 13. Confusion characterizes Babylon at this time. The city lives up to its name. Babylon means confusion, and confusion besets them. That great city depended upon its economic strength and its total gross product. But something happened to that nation, and it was dying within. We are living in a country today that depends upon its economic strength. But something is also wrong with us, and we won't face up to it. Our problem is moral. As a nation, we have departed from the living and true God. The ancient city of Babylon, which at first glance seems so unrelated to us, has a message for us. The stones of the debris of Babylon are crying out a warning to us.